And once again, I'm in my bathrobe playing the Hugh Hefner. That's because I'm lazy and I didn't feel like going to put a shirt on. It's past my bedtime, but I'm awake, so I thought I'd do some sorting and appreciation of this lot that I got from a good friend. And I will say, still, fantastic. Old dark gray. I'm sure I'll find more because I haven't fully sorted out. I do verify as I'm sorting for the most part that no non-Lego is still in this lot here. The bin that the lot came in is still upstairs, ready to go to Value Village or wherever we take it to. And I actually have a better extractor than this, but it's a bone. Look at the bones. Deep cut. Look at the teeth. My memory is not great. never actually ever has been. By the way, my entire life, my memory is not one of those things that I remember. I do not have an eidetic memory like Sheldon Cooper and some of my friends who remember everything. But quotes from fantastic, look the bones. Monty Python. Oh my goodness. It is such. We were talking about this the other day. My boss, well, my new boss at work, about our generation, and of course I'm referring to Gen X because I am Gen X. I am 3 years younger than the boomers. So I'm a very, very early Gen X, but Gen X nevertheless. And Gen X will say that we had the best music, the best TV shows, the best movies. I mean, I think every generation says that, but overall, Breakfast Club. Anyway, that we were talking about the niche in time. We did grow up just after the flower power. We were brought up by the 50s, the 40s and 50s kids that had to listen to their parents talk about the war and the Great Depression and all that stuff. So we were not brought up by the flower powers ish. Some of us might have been the later Gen X's. But I was born in '67, so my parents were far before the flower powers. But I look back at that era in the early to mid '70s as a kid growing up, and I will say this without a care in the world, where I lived, and the lifestyle I had, and the lifestyle my parents had, and the society that I grew up in, not literally a care in the world. I mean, there's always problems. Every family has problems. Every society has problems. Every community has problems. But in the grand scope of things, the problems that we had in our community, pretty minimal when it comes to the big picture stuff. There's a story like I never experienced. I don't know. We weren't. I won't say this. We weren't overall a community that could leave the keys in the car. I'll say that. I mean, that'd just be stupid. So we weren't that kind of generation or society. But overall, it was a safe for me. Anyway, it was a safe community to grow up in and have a good time and not put too much angst and worry into, if you're gonna get beat up or mugged or whatever. There was, I don't know, I can't even remember it, but I was going in a direction there that we had fun. We had lots of fun. We as kids, we'd get together on our bikes and we'd bike all over the neighborhood until the streetlights came on. If you always hear that euphemism, it's true. My mom, don't come home until the streetlights come on. She never said don't come home. She said come home when the streetlights come on, and that was pretty much from the age of 6 until 14. So there was a wide swath of time where many years where that was my lifestyle, and we would especially in the summer times and on weekends just go out biking and hiking and building forts and flying kites and playing games and going down to the park and whatever else, and just tool out and just have fun, just absolutely have fun. And I would say I would say the friends I chose to call my friends, even though they're part of the community, in my church and my Boy Scouts are all the same, basically the same circle. We didn't do anything maliciously mischievous. There was no vandalism, there was no graffitis, there was no damaging other people's property on purpose, maliciously. There were some kids in the neighborhood, not too many, thankfully. There were some kids in the neighborhood that we would classify as malcontents and ne'er-do-wells that would do some damages to people's property, but they were shunned and they were few and far between, and you usually know who did it. And we managed to avoid those people, and so I'm gonna mention, I just threw it in here and find it. I love this piece in this color. This piece is, I won't say ubiquitous, it's not that rare, but I built a lot of buildings using that facade, a bunch of those. So this is Winona. We're winners, not whiners. Growing up in Winona back in the day. Since I was in Boy Scouts and in church, Sunday school, check out the old logo. I don't know if you can see that old logo. And in church, and the same kids were in your classroom. Like you just got I had the same basically circle of friends from the age of 4 and from nursery school, Mrs. Van Nessen's nursery school, to grade 12 and 13. There's a lot of people that came and went, but overall, the people I knew. Sorry, I forgot. Pull back. A pullback motor, which is awesome. I got a whole box from up there, but and just having that sense, and you didn't understand until it was gone, that sense of foundational, I won't say safety, just comfort, that you're going to go to school and you're going to see the same people at church, and you're going to see the same people at Boy Scouts, and you're going to see the same people camping, and it was just nice. And today at 50 or whatever, almost 60, that one of my friends from way back that was in my nursery school class, and he was my best friend for the longest time, and his dad was one of my dad's friends back in the day before they got married. And so it was very the families would go camping together, our family and their family would go camping together, and we would just hang out literally all the time. And we spent all of grade school and all of high school hanging out with each other. And then he went off and did his gallivanting through the world, doing his job. And then he moved back. Some people say you can't go home again. He did. He came home again and settled in Winona. And we talked. Let's check out the color difference, by the way. This is why. That is actually original yellow, but that's CA yellow. And it's not as warped as the other ones. Does it fit? Ish. So I'm keeping that. And we basically picked up where we left off. For 15, 20 years, we didn't see each other. When we graduated high school, he went, throughout the world, and I stayed down, which is fantastic. and now he's back, and then we get together and we have barbecues and stuff. So just having that is fun. It's nice. It's really nice. And again, I keep on saying this, and I mean it from sincerely, that I have lived almost undeservedly so. I will say that, undeservedly so. I have lived such a blessed life with the people that I have in my life, and I cannot at all. I think that's green, lime green. I have a tough time sometimes between lime green and yellow. I cannot at all fault, like when people ask, and this is me going off many tangents, but basically trying to go in this direction. My blessed life, and I say this a lot, I've never had a bad day in my life. I've had bad moments. I've honestly had bad moments in my life. Everybody has had bad moments, like supremely heart-wrenchingly sad and debilitating and emotional and all that problems. I've had those kind of moments, but the entire day, I've never had a bad day in my life. And I say that because, again, the blessed life I've had, even in those bad moments, and I'm going to use a textbook example, and I try not to talk about this too much, but my mom passed away like 12 years ago, 13 years ago now. She'd be 81 this year. 12 years ago. She's passed away when she was 69. When my mom passed away, I'm the one that had to take care of things. I'm the one that showed up and called the 911s and blah, blah, blah. But immediately upon, finding mom and then having to take care of that the day of the bad moment, immediately that day, again, I remember that day vividly because, again, my faulty memory, but I remember this day when my mom passed away, that within a few phone calls, I just had to call one or two people, and then those people called other people that needed to be informed of, and it was basically, everything was taken care of. And there was people that came to my mom's apartment within minutes. My uncles and my aunts and my family, and then my friends got and helped with everything, because with my mom's passing, there was a lot of work to be done, physical work to clean out the apartment and everything, and they were all there. So my sad moment, my very, very traumatic, that wouldn't say, but it wasn't unexpected, but it was not expected at that time, that immediately everybody was there that I needed to be there. Like literally everybody that I needed was there. And I think about that. I think about that for my life. That whenever I needed something, whenever there was some issue or some concern or some whatever, that I had a foundation of friends and family, and I didn't have to ask. I never had to ask, and they've never had to ask me ever. I have now I'm not going to talk about that one. It's still too close and recent. This is why I keep on saying I lived a very, very blessed life with the people that have been in my life, and friends and family. And I've always wanted to also be a blessing to other people, and show up and help people as needed, and dark gray. And so I do try to be empathic, some empathy towards what's going on in the world, and some plights and some issues that my friends had, and try to be proactive instead of waiting for them to ask. Just be there for them, not just saying, hey, do you need something? Think about what they need and just show up with it. I've done that a few times. And other things like just be situationally, as they say, situationally aware. And it works always. And just call somebody. Just out of the blue, just, hey, I just want to say hi. I've done that a few times in my life, with people I haven't seen in a while. And it works. And it works to have that kind of, I will say, low effort but high reward of relationship building, of just shooting the breeze for nothing, for no reason whatsoever. And I have been in situations where things are dire and traumatic and emotional and blah blah blah, and you just show up and shoot the breeze about something else to get their mind off of it. Just go for a coffee and talk about the weather if you have to, and that in and of itself has been a blessing for me. And you can't fix everything, you can't fix whatever, but you can just be a sympathetic ear. And I appreciated that from people in my life who have just shown up for a coffee or bring me donuts. I don't know. I wanted to talk, and this is coming from this specific thing, where my friend at work, I mean, we've been working together for a good 10 years now, knew I love Lego, and his kids love Lego, which is what I usually hear. And so he found this lottery, he got this lot off of somebody else, and he basically told me, he came into the office one day and he says, Dave, I got this lot off of somebody else, and I went through it and I took the pieces I wanted for my kids, and I was just wondering if you want the rest of it. And he says, and then he forewarned me that it wasn't all Lego. And well, you've seen these videos. I've gone through lots of lots that's not all Lego. And he says it's a little grungy. I said, I've guaranteed whatever he has in that bin is not as grungy as I've seen some of the lots that come into this house. But he thought of me. He thought of me, and it was very sweet that he didn't have to. There was no burden there. If he never told me, I never would have known. But he thought, and just those kind of blessings, those kind of just happenstance, serendipitous happenstance, where somebody thinks of somebody else and says, you know who would appreciate that? That person over there. You know who would appreciate that? That just that line alone brings back memories that I won't go into right now. That's a whole other story. You know who'd appreciate this? But we were talking about TV for a second. My boss at work and I were talking. We are pretty big Seinfeld fans, and a lot of people aren't. And Seinfeld's hit and miss for some people. I will say that I didn't get into it until probably second or third season, but I've seen them all. I absolutely have seen all the episodes of Seinfeld, and I laughed every single episode. There are some stronger episodes and some weaker episodes, but I genuinely laughed out loud during the run of Seinfeld. There is not one episode where I didn't laugh at something that happened in the show. And if you go into, so this is a tangent on whatever else we were talking about, but if you go into, this is how my mind works. If you talk to people in my generation, and even the next generation, because Seinfeld wasn't necessarily just a Gen X show. The generation after ours was pretty much, they love Seinfeld too, because the younger kids, those younger kids. But there's lots of quotes and lots of happenings in Seinfeld. But quintessentially, we talked about this. The one, and this is not Seinfeld, but in the history of sitcoms, and this is going back to I Love Lucy, because there's the fan, and there's always YouTube clips about it, of I Love Lucy, when they're in the chocolate thing line and they're having to put the little things in the boxes, and their things going too fast, and they start eating and the stuffing and the, like, that's quintessentially one of the funniest things that ever happened in television. I still say it's still funny. The Carlton dance, funny, whatever, you know, it's this thing. But they quintessentially, out of all the sitcoms that have ever been filmed, put on television, they say, and I would say, I think it's number one, but it's a top 5 scene, is God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. Like, you just have to say that, and people know, at least from my generation, they know what that is. And it's such a fond memory, because from episode 1 of WKRP back in 1978, I was 11 years old. I watched it. I watched KRP, and I loved it right from the get-go. I thought it was a fantastic, fantastic show. It wasn't too stupid slapstick comedy, although there was lots of slapstick comedy in it. It wasn't too morally preaching, although there were some moral preachings in there, like drinking and alcoholism and stuff like that. And some really, really deep topics like racism and stuff like that. But they didn't bash you over the head with it. But it wasn't light and fluffy like Seinfeld is. Like, Seinfeld was never anything but light and fluffy. They never got into, you know, morals, issues, and complex topics like WKRP tackled. And you think about it, like, you got Happy Days, which, again, we watched a lot back in the day, because that ran from 1974 to whatever. Happy Days is where the term jump the shark came from, by the way, just in case anybody was under a rock and didn't know. Because at one point, halfway through the series, there was an episode where Fonzie was water skiing in his leather jacket and jumped the shark. It's like, and they said the show was never the same since. I'm going, I remember watching that episode the first time it was on TV, and then I remember watching 6 seasons after that. So jumping the shark doesn't really mean what you think it means when you actually compare it to where it came from. Happy Days, where Happy Days had a huge long life after jumping the shark. We use the term jumping the shark, and usually the short series is pretty short-lived after it jumps the shark. I'm going to say that in television, like, there's some really, really interesting things where, you know, when the TV series jumps the shark and you know it's not going to be long-lived afterwards. One of the shows that really jumped the shark, and it's kind of sad for me to say, Nathan Fillion is one of my most favorite people on the planet, because he's just awesome, as most Canadians are. He was on a little tiny show called Firefly. Firefly has a unique place in my mind, because I did pride myself for the longest time on being the connoisseur, the person who knew every single Star Trek, every single science fiction show that was ever on in history television, and knew what all the ships were, and knew what all the characters were on everything. I watched BSG, I watched Buck Rogers, I watched Earth 2, I watched Space Above and Beyond, I watched Sequest DSV, not really science fiction, but close enough. I watched all of those shows. Like, anytime there was any science fiction show in the history of television, I watched it. I watched reruns. I watched the 50s. I watched Lost in Space. I watched all those shows from back in the day. And Twilight Zone, especially when they had the spaceship episodes. Jack Klugman, Oscar from The Odd Couple, was in a really, really good Twilight Zone episode where their ship crashes on a planet. Loved it. I love science fiction. Always have. And so I prided myself on knowing every single thing that was ever on TV. For science fiction. And I remember being home one day, and I'm flipping through the channels, and all of a sudden I see a spaceship. Un momento, por favor. A spaceship on the TV screen. And I'm going, that's a spaceship I've never seen before. What is this show? And it was Our Mrs. Reynolds. The episode was Our Mrs. Reynolds. It was the first run through. It wasn't a repeat yet. And I had no idea. I had literally, and I'm a guy who followed the papers to find out science fiction shows that are going to come on TV, because I wanted to watch them. I had even never heard of it. And this was the very first thing I saw. it was the Serenity drifting through space, going towards the net. And then going, well, this is interesting. So I didn't see the rest of the episode. I'm flipping through the channels, and all of a sudden I see Serenity just drifting towards the net. And then now I know, but Jane puts, Vera in a spacesuit and right. So, and I'm going, I have to find literally everything out about the show. And then I got online because the internet existed back, and I said, oh, then I started downloading episodes that I hadn't seen yet. Very, very, like 320 by 200. really not even HD. And watching them, and then watching and trying, oh, it's going to be on next week at the same time. And it wasn't, because there's a football game on, and Fox kept them moving it around. And so I saw 3 or 4 episodes after Our Mrs. Reynolds before they canceled it. And I'm going, no, they canceled it. Are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me? Didn't have a chance to jump the shark. So I love science fiction. This was going somewhere. So this was going somewhere. I can't remember. Oh yeah, Nathan Fillion. So because I was talking about jumping the shark. See, this is how my mind works. Jumping the shark. So Serenity was canceled. Firefly was canceled, and then they had the movie, which is great. And then I bought the box set when it became available, and there was the extra 3 episodes in there, which are just fantastic. Because trash is just brilliant. just brilliant. Anyway, so Nathan Fillion, I'm going, oh, and then he did a very, very extremely short-lived, because Nathan Fillion is going to do another TV show. I think it was called Drive, and it was like he was forced into having this across America race or something like that. I can't remember the specific plot points, but the guy kidnapped his girlfriend and said you had to drive from here to there, and there's everybody else is trying to get it there, and it's a cutthroat thing. It's almost like, what was that street race? Lee Majors was in it. Battle, no, it wasn't 2000. Killer Car 2000, whatever it was, where they had to drive across America and live because they're all out to kill each other to get the money at the end. It wasn't like Cannonball Run or whatever, but I think it was called Drive. Anyway, it lasted 4 episodes or something like that, and I watched them. And I'm watching it because he's in it. That was the only reason why I was watching it. And I'm going, oh, that got canceled. Not a shock. And then I find out, oh, he's going to be in the next new year. He's going to be in a show called Castle. And I'm going, oh, this is intriguing. And the first pilot, boom, hooked me. And Sandy loved it. Castle was fantastic. And so we're watching because he's just very personable and very, very charming, whatever. And then that goes on 4 seasons, 5 seasons, 6 seasons, starts getting a little rough, right? Because from season 1 to 5, brilliant episodes. Fantastic writing, fantastic acting, love the characters, love where it's going, blah, blah, blah. And then I didn't know, but I guess behind the scenes there's some kind of friction between castmates, whatever. And then the seasons 6, 7, and 8 were just dreck. They're not bad. There's some gems in there, but not like seasons 1 through 5. It's what we would call jump the shark. It really was. Not intentionally, but it felt like completely off. It's like there was beautiful chemistry between all the characters from season 1 to 5, and then after that it just went boom, 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 like falling on the hill, and then it's kind of limped onto the last episode. And I'm going, oh, that was so like that was more disappointing for me, the downfall of Castle, than losing Serenity, because at least Serenity, all 13 episodes are brilliant. They're just brilliant. And so you're left wanting more, and you're wondering what would have happened in season 2 or the rest of season 1, because like, oh, Joss and whatever. But you don't know. It could have jumped the shark by season 2. And yet we will never know. Take my life, take my land, take me where I cannot stand. So Castle was so disappointing. I would have to say, in the history of me watching television, the downfall of Castle was my most disappointing television experience ever. I still watch episodes, especially if it's before season 6. I'll watch any episode. But the downfall of Castle was so disappointing, watching it and just watching it feel like it's just falling down the hill and losing its everything. And it should have been just wrapped up in season 6 instead of limping on for 2 more seasons. and it just, things didn't make sense. The plots were just contrived. I was like, oh my, this is so bad. So Castle's done. And I'm going, oh, Nathan. And then, of course, he's doing some movies. He's doing whatever. And I'll watch the movies that he's in. And then I hear that he's going to be in a new TV show called The Rookie. Saying that, you go, woohoo! And so the summer before, yeah, he's going to be The Rookie. And so we start watching The Rookie from the pilot, hooked. And so far still, I think we're in, I don't know, season 5 or whatever. Solid show. Love the show. I really do appreciate Nathan Fillion and the entire cast. But jumping the shark, what other shows in my life have jumped the shark? I don't know. Remington Steele, I thought was good from beginning to end. I really did. I love Remington Steele. I loved all my detective shows I watched because that's what was on in the 80s. You know, Hardcastle and McCormick, and so yeah, Magnum, and then of course Simon and Simon. Loved that show. And all those other ones, Moonlighting, like there was, but I would say my favorite was Simon and Simon. I loved Simon and Simon back then, was my favorite. I mean, I love Magnum. Magnum was first, but I think Simon and Simon became because it was just charming, and Mom was in it. Mom was great, but Joel McCraney, one of my favorite actors of all time. He shows up in Designing Women, one of my other favorite sitcoms, by the way, Designing Women, just because it was brilliant and it was thoughtful and it took on all the issues. And I don't mind television taking on issues. I grew up on Archie Bunker. I grew up on the Jeffersons. I grew up on Maude. I have no problem with television shows, especially sitcoms, taking on the heavy issues if they want to. Cheers didn't. Cheers talked about some small issues or some issues in a very comedic way, and I didn't mind that either. But I loved how Archie Bunker and the Jeffersons and Maude and all those late 70s shows, early 70s shows, took on the hard issues straight on. MASH did it, of course, but MASH was built in to do it. But those other sitcoms did it head on without any couching. WKRP fluffied it up a little bit, didn't make like the hard hitting and in your face kind of thing. The racism when Venus gets framed for stealing and he's going to be arrested, and they say he looks like the perpetrator, and of course the other girl is actually framing him for it, and then at the end the detective realizes that there's a whole other guy that looks just like Venus, and like he got it all wrong. You know, that was the racism. Or even the episode where Andy's sister shows up, and Andy's sister takes a liking to Venus, Gordon Sims, again deep cut, and they go on a date, and Andy's getting a little bit, my sister shouldn't be dating a black guy. I mean, it's 1978, 1979. And that handled it in a comedic kind of, but, you know, a little bit of a serious way. I think the Venus getting arrested and Herb drinking, having an alcohol problem, was the only time that I can think of off the top of my head where it really got serious, where WKRP really got really serious in a scene or two. Oh, sorry. Yes, the band, the Who concert, but that was modeled after real life. So that still gets me misty, the Who concert, because that was not too long after the Who concert actually happened and people died. But other than that, they tackled some other issues, but they didn't tackle them in a really serious way that I can think of. Venus's desertion from the army, not that serious. Though it was like, oh, I'm gonna get a little misty thinking about it, but still fantastic. Jennifer going through when her boyfriend hit her, that was a tough one. I'll say that was tough. So anyway, for me, WKRP is one of the most brilliant TV shows that was ever on television. I loved it. It lasted 4 seasons, 93 episodes. I watched them all numerous times. Loved every one of them. It still makes me smile every time I think about WKRP. One of my first crushes was Bailey. Of course, it was Bailey. If you had any shred of doubt who I am, there's Ginger Marianne. It's Marianne. It's not even it's not even a competition for me. It's Marianne. It's Bailey. It's not Jennifer. It's not Ginger. It'll never be. I mean, very, very nice to look at. Very, very nice. And Lonnie Anderson, fantastic Canadian. No, that's. I can't believe I just said that. But Bailey, absolutely Bailey. Again, us Gen Xers would have that. We have that discussion in high school. The stuff we used to talk about. So, anywho, Gilligan's Island doesn't hold up. It's not nearly as bad as the other stuff that was on back then. I don't think I could sit through an episode of Petticoat Junction or Green Acres. I honestly don't think I could. I don't think I could at all. And that's nothing against them. They were niche for that time. There are some TV shows that were made for that time, and they don't work outside of that time. Petticoat Junction and Green Acres was specific. And there's funny moments. Don't get me wrong. I think I saw a Green Acres episode of 5 years ago, and I thought, oh, this is like, okay. It's not like the A-Team, which does not, period, hold up, period, at all, period. The movie's great, but the actual TV series, any episode, I can't think of one episode that I want to remember now. I watched that. I saw an episode of Moonlighting a couple years back, and I go, oh, okay, I can see why I like the show. The one thing on a tangential note about TV shows from back then compared to now, everything moves so slowly. The plot moves so slowly. The plot's very, very, I won't say simplistic, but very, very, like before the first commercial is one plot point, and then and you watch like an episode of Chicago Med or FBI now, it's like boom, 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 all the way through. You're on the edge of your seat all the way through. Like you watch a Magnum episode, and 15 minutes of Magnum is him driving in the car talking to you. That's it. Like 15 minutes of that show is just him driving. You see the scenery of Hawaii go by, and he's talking. Oh, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to talk to that guy. No, I got some information over there, and I wonder what she's going to say. And he's talking to the camera, or he's doing a voiceover to the camera. Fantastic. That was part of the niche part of that show, but nobody does that anymore, and it's very, very slow. And it's like, and I use this as an example too, because my friends and I talk about how fast and in your face and constantly moving and camera shaking and all that stuff that the cameras are these days. And you watch an old show, it's a stationary camera because of course they're bigger. It's like you go back. If I remember correctly, it's not the first Marvel movie. I can't think of what the first Marvel movie was between Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire or the X-Men. I honestly can't remember right now. I think it was the X-Men. I think X-Men came out first, the first X-Men. You watch the very first movie of the X-Men, and then you watch Endgame, or you watch No Way Home, Spider-Man, or you watch anything else. You watch that first movie, and I was on TV the other day, and I watched it because I remember liking it, and I still liked it, by the way. The first X-Men, just introducing the characters and introducing what X-Men are, and Professor Xavier, blah blah. You watch the first X-Men movie, and you feel how slow the movie goes. It's not like boom, 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 boom. Everything has to be fast camera, fast shaking, fast dialogue, fast this, fast that. It's just, it takes time to build stuff up to the end, to the climax. That moved fast, but to get there is extremely slow compared to movies today. And I'm on the fence as to which one I like more, because I do like being able to sit back and enjoy the unfolding of a story in a timely manner, instead of your brain's always playing catch up. Like I feel exhausted after watching a modern day movie, because everything's thrown at you as fast as it possibly can be. You watch like an old movie like Out of Africa, you watch Dances with Wolves, you watch and it's a 3-hour epic, Dances with Wolves, but the 3 hours, whoever was hired to be the cinematographer in that movie deserved $1 billion. because you watch the camera pans, and it's just majestic, and the music is swelling, and so you got 5 minutes of majesty. Last of the Mohicans, just look at the gorgeous cinematography in this movie. And yes, there's plot there somewhere. It's still a great movie with the plot, because there is a story there, but they don't boom 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 credits. Like I watched a 3-hour movie, and all of a sudden it's like credits. That was felt like 20 minutes because it moved so fast. It's like the Flash going through. I don't know. There's give and take for me on that kind of stuff. I really do sometimes miss the old cinematography of just setting the scene by having a slow camera pan across the woods, across the lake, into the cottage, a nice slow one, and then you hear the music just slowly building, and all of a sudden you get there, and all of a sudden you see the old, like, go watch On Golden Pond. Henry Fonda, I think it was his last movie. Go watch that and just appreciate. It's a very slow moving movie, but you don't think it's a slow, I'm going to fall asleep during this movie. But it just keeps on going until the end. Now, I haven't seen On Golden Pond since 1980, whatever, but I remember it being a fantastically awesome, beautiful, wonderful little movie, and that's what I liked. So I like all types of movies. I don't mind the fast boom 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 in your face, like, always action every single scene. But I also like the movies that let the scene build up and speak for itself as it's building up, and that happens a lot less frequently now. And I get it. It's a different generation. The attention span of people is very, very much reduced, and they get to keep the audience's attention because they go straight to their phones if they get a little bit bored and the scene's not unfolding fast enough for them. I get that, but I kind of miss the old movies where you just sit there and just as it just evolves slowly to the end. And it is what it is. That was a lot of tangents. To sum all this up, talked about Jumping the Shark, talked about best sitcom, WKP, talked about best PI show, Simon. I was one of the first people I knew of that really appreciated Hill Street Blues. Hill Street Blues took a while to catch on because it was an ensemble cast and people aren't used to it. An ensemble of like 15 people back then. Now it's just status quo, like the FBI's and all the hospital dramas. You got 17 people or 15 people that have little, it's like a soap opera. All these little stories. Hill Street was one of the first nighttime, it wasn't a soap opera, but cop ensemble. Like I think there was 9 people, 10 people in the credits. Joe Spano, fantastic actor. Daniel J. Travanti, I think is his name, the cap. I loved it. I loved Hill Street. I thought it was fantastic. Michael Conrad, God rest his soul. Fantastic. And of course, this is where we got Dennis Franz from. Because he was in the last couple seasons of Hill Street before he went over to the NYPD. I was not happy with him on Hill Street at all. But I never watched NYPD. NYPD Blue. I didn't like him. I'd never liked him. I never liked him as an actor. He's a great actor. That's why I don't like him. I don't like him because he plays the part really good. I didn't watch NYPD Blue, even though Smits was in it. And I love Jimmy Smits. I love me some Jimmy Smits. He's fantastic. And he was in Star Wars, but he was also in The West Wing. So, anywho, talking about my favorite TV shows. I like being entertained. I like shows that. One of the reasons why Sandy and I are loving Booth right now, because it doesn't move too fast. I'll say that. Thank you. And it's a cute show besides the gory, dead bodies and stuff. But they don't focus on it and they don't make it gruesome, horror gruesome at all. It's not comedic gruesome, but it's gruesome because there's always dead bodies. But the characters are so well developed. I love shows that develop their characters and stay true to the characters throughout the series run, which is why I had a huge problem with Castle at the end, because the characters were behaving not like the characters I had seen through the first 6 seasons. They were completely different characters, and I just canceled the show now. But Bones, were in season 9 and watching the evolution of all the characters, and the fact that this show has no problem self-referencing stuff that happened episodes ago, which I love. I mean, it's nothing to do with the plot, but oh, Hudgens, you did remember you did that body a couple years back, and oh, I remember the episode, and stuff like that, and how all the characters have changed with the kids showing up and blah blah blah, and how they've come to trust one another and blah blah blah. And I adore Bones. It's one of my favorite shows now that I've ever seen, because we're in season 9 and they haven't jumped the shark yet, and the character development and the relationships between them all feel genuine. And I keep on saying to Sandy, when they do all those little cute little scenes at the end, it looks like these characters, these actors, are just having fun playing these characters, which I really, really appreciate. To feel that joy of showing up for work, at least what it feels like to me, the joy of showing up for work, to play these characters that they get to play every week on TV. And it feels genuine. It really does. And I love that about Bones. And I like the little bit of science in there and blah, blah, blah. I don't know what we're going to watch after Bones is done, because we're watching on Disney Plus, and there's not too many other things that I want to watch now. This is kind of odd, because it's like, now what? We're in season 9. We still got 3.5 more seasons to go. But anyway, that's what we're doing. I talked about a lot of stuff, so I'm going to finish sorting, probably not tonight, because I'm going to go to bed. Everybody out there, stay safe, take care. I am going to talk more about other stuff. So, guys, stay safe. Bye.